Hoppin John is a traditional Southern dish served on New Year's Day. Some form of it is served, it may not be exactly this way. Some people divide the different vegetables and meats. However, this is the traditional Hoppin John. You start with your meat. This is bacon, the thick sliced bacon. You may use ham hock, you may use pigtails, you may use pig snout, any of those, but some form of pork is the meat that goes inside of Hoppin John. After it is cooked, this is the rendering that is left behind. Do not wash the skillet. You can pour off some of the grease, but leave about the amount that I have there, and all the little bits of meat that are left behind, leave that. That gives your food another layer of flavor. That is a traditional thing we do in Southern cooking. You cook the bacon and you season the vegetables with the fat from the bacon. First, you put in your celery. Celery always comes first because it takes a longer amount of time to cook. So you're going to cook the celery until it is softened. Not completely done, but it's softened. And then you'll add the other vegetables. Now, the meaning of the foods that are in Hoppin John, they each are symbolic. Like the tomatoes symbolize love. The rice symbolizes life. The collard greens or turnip greens, whichever you choose to use, those represent money, as well as the black-eyed peas. They're representative of money. The collard greens are the type of money that you fold, and the black-eyed peas are the kind that goes ching ching. Now, we add in the bell pepper and onion and garlic, or you can use garlic powder, fresh minced garlic or garlic powder. Either one of those are just fine. That is chicken stock. I use the chicken stock that has the salt already in it. I don't use this low sodium because then I don't have to add any salt, But if you're watching that, use the low sodium one and then just add your salt to taste. And of course, you'll saute it, move it around, and some of the chicken stock will cook out. So you'll see me adding more a little bit later in the video. So another thing about Hoppin John that's interesting. Oh, and then with this, you bring it to a slow boil, which you'll see in just a second. But with Hoppin John, okay, a person might also use cabbage as opposed to turnip greens and collard greens. Some people use cabbage, but usually if you use cabbage, you're serving it where the different foods are separate. Generally, you don't mix cabbage in when it's like a one-pot dish like this. All right, next thing, we have our, I believe this is the greens. Yes, I put them in, and then I'm going to add a little bit more of the greens. Okay, so you can see what they look like. They're already cooked when you buy them in the can. And, in a traditional Southern home, you cook your own greens, but in your own black-eyed peas. You let them boil the night before, soak the night before. But for this purpose, we're using Glory. They're fine. Use the Southern-style ones. Dump in the black-eyed peas. Dump in the collard greens. You get them all out. They add another layer of flavor to the dish. And then we're going to stir it all up, stir it all up, stir it all up. And then the next thing would be to add the tomatoes. I just used, store brand diced tomatoes. Nothing special. If you want to dice them up yourself, go for it. But if you're like me, I like to take a little help from the grocery store. And we'll stir all of this, or I should be stirring all this in just a second. We'll stir it and add some more chicken stock. And then it should start to look like this, okay? And so we're going to let this cook for a little bit. A little bit more about the history of Hoppin John. In the southern states, some form of this is eaten all the time, but especially on New Year's Day. Some people eat it all together as a one pot dish. Some people separate it. In the Carolinas and parts of Georgia, they tend to eat it this way. When you get to states like Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, they tend to separate the foods, but it's the same foods. Now, the food is thought of as a a wish for what will be happen. Here's me adding the rice. What will happen for the next year? Around New Year's, all of the crops would have been in, so it was kind of like the downtime, and they were preparing to plant at the end of January when the ground is warm enough that the crops can be received by the soil. So it was a wish for good luck, good life, health, love, money, all the things that we would want for the new year. Also, it was eaten by everyone. The South back at that point would have been basically blacks and whites. And so the black people, of course, were slaves. So they ate it. Notice none of these are particularly expensive foods. So they ate it, but also the poor whites who would have been sharecroppers or workers at the plantation as well, everyone ate the same thing. Everyone ate the same thing. So that's why to this day, it's eaten by most everyone in the South, whether you are African American or whether you are just a Southerner. That's me adding the nice crispy bacon and stirring it in. That's the yum yum. Again, you can use other meat. If you want to use, if you want to be healthy, use turkey bacon or something like that, that's fine. It's just not going to have as much flavor. Again, salt, meat, ham hock, any of these things will do. You just shred the meat off. Okay, but I use bacon. And this is what it looks like. It should not be a wet dish. It should be more like a rice pilaf, but with lots of stuff in it. I hope you enjoy making Hoppin John for your family. It's very important to me to preserve these recipes as my great-grandparents were slaves. So preserving the rich heritage and the delicious foods of the Old South is very, very important to me. So enjoy it, make it, and put your own spin on it.